ChatGPT in trading. Can it help a systematic trader? Well, I can talk about systematic trading because it's what I do and I've been doing for years, more than 20 years. And I just want to have a look at the steps a systematic trader goes through and evaluate with grades what ChatGPT can do for this systematic trader. We talk a lot about artificial intelligence, and we talk a lot about ChatGPT, how the machine is beautiful and so on. We should never forget anyway that on top of a process or on the base, depending on how you see it, there is still a human being. I mean, ChatGPT is there, but it was programmed, invented, built by a human being. And even when we arrive to ChatGPT version N, programmed by its previous version, we still have to go back and imagine that at the very beginning, at the very start, there was a human being. And this is very important, because especially in trading, human being is extremely important to properly evaluate what we have in front. But let's go into systematic trader and the steps which we can imagine to go through when we approach this. Step one is the generation of an idea. What should I do? Here, ChatGPT is very useful. I mean, of course, we can give ideas, but ChatGPT has an enormous database and the capacity to explore this database in zero time, and to give us all the information that we need to generate ideas how to build our systems. And for this basic task, just to introduce us to the trading systems world, ChatGPT makes a great job. So I cannot give an A, but I will certainly give a B to this. I mean, A is top of top, and it's still not there, but B for sure is properly deserved for ChatGPT in this step one. And then we go to step two. We have the idea, we have to code it, and the coding exercise can be obviously asked to be delivered by ChatGPT. ChatGPT can deliver a code. You just say, I want this idea programmed in easy language or power language, which is the language we use using multi-choice. I personally use that. Okay, you get the code, and this output is not always the best you could imagine. You say, oh, the machine is not good. Well, in some cases, it inserts unnecessary lines, but this is not a main problem, of course. But sometimes it makes mistakes that can block your code. So you have a code that doesn't work just for a silly mistake. So if you are a skilled programmer and you just used ChatGPT to ease your work, just to get something from scratch to work on, you can easily go through the code and correct all the small problems that you can find there, and then you can go up. But if you're a new guy and you have somebody who has no experience, no programming experience, especially this one, you have something that you don't know why it doesn't work, because you are not able to understand it. So it's useless. But even worse, there are even sometimes mistakes that are dangerous. I mean, mistakes in the code that lead the system to do things that it's not supposed to do. Things that can be dangerous. And with dangerous, I mean things that can make you lose money because they do the wrong thing. And normally when wrong things are done, it's more likely to lose money than to make extra money. At least this is pretty obvious. So it can be dangerous in wrong, inexperienced hands. And this is something that obviously is a pity, because we have something that should give an advantage, but it's not 100% advantage. I would not block it completely, but I cannot say it's good. So I will say we're about C for this second step. First step is the backtesting. We have now a system, we want to backtest the system and eventually model it a little bit better, optimize it, tweak left and right to get a better output. Well, here ChatGPT is weak because it can give us all the information we need how to do it, but it doesn't do it itself, not the way we want it to be done or we desire it to be done. So we sit there, we get all the information where to go to, what to do, but we have to do the dirty job. We have to understand what we get as a recommendation and then put it in place. This is obviously a weakness point in the whole process. So in this case, I would stay on a D for this, because I don't get a real help from ChatGPT. Step number 4, we want to validate the system. Again, same story. ChatGPT doesn't validate the system. It just gives us the information about the validation we could go through. But in this case, the information that we receive from ChatGPT is, in my opinion, of higher value than in the previous case, because we are in a more difficult area, and whatever we get as tips or information from the machine, it's more helpful because we are really in the darkness before we get this information. So in this case, this small suggestions or the list of to-do things helps more than in previous case. So in this case, I will for sure stay with C, even though it's the very same situation as in the step 3. But in this case, I will stay with C, because I think it's more valuable. So step 5, we go through the previous step 4 over and over because we want to create a portfolio of strategies. So we have just built one strategy with all the process before. Now we have to go through that again and again to get more strategies to diversify. But it's not the same level of easiness, because here we have also to explain to the machine that we have to diversify. We have to find new markets, new approaches, new ideas. So again, every time we start from scratch, making sure that we don't repeat something that we have already done. So the situation here is a bit choppy, let's say. We get the help we aim to, but we have some weaknesses. So in this case, the whole process was a little bit decent. We have B in the first step. Let's say C, but it's a little bit of a present I'm giving to ChatGPT with this C on the step 5. Step 6. We have to manage the portfolio. Now we have a portfolio and we have to manage it. And here, ChatGPT is not really useful. I mean, we have to understand what strategies to put at work, how many contracts to use per strategy. We have to understand if we have to kill some strategies, you have to stop some, to pause them. We don't know. All this information. ChatGPT has difficulties in leading us through this path. So it's really weak in this area. It doesn't give valuable information for this. So I will stay B. 7th, last step. We have everything ready. We have to go live. Now we have to go live. And here, I must admit, I don't see really anything of good use from ChatGPT, because going live means, okay, it gives us information on how to build our infrastructure, but it doesn't really help on the day-by-day stuff. It doesn't give us the information of what to do, how to monitor. It tells us how, but it doesn't monitor. So we have to do all the job and we just get some generic information from ChatGPT. This is really weak. And here, I must be evil, the evil professor, F. I'm sorry, Chat, but you deserve no more than an F for this. Okay, so do we really get a help in systematic trading from ChatGPT? I don't know. I mean, you have seen it was the grades were, some were good, some were so-and-so, some were bad. We could imagine to say, in average, on a C. So something which is just decent, maybe, I don't know. I can tell you, I don't use ChatGPT today for trading or for building my infrastructure. I can tell that in 10 years, we will all be using ChatGPT. Maybe it grows to a level where we get a real help in all the steps that I've gone through. Also today, the situation is completely different. And even more dangerous, if you think to use ChatGPT as a total beginner, just because you think you are accompanied by something very clever, you are in danger, because some solutions that may be proposed by ChatGPT may sound very simple, very easy. And with easiness, you go into the market and you get hurt, because it's not that easy. It's like if I gave you information how to drive a big, powerful motorcycle and just make you think that it's easy to drive it. But when you jump on a motorcycle and you've never driven a motorcycle before, and you go, it might be dangerous, you understand this, of course. So the same here, going and putting your money in the markets, thinking it's simple, or using tools that may be wrong or may contain mistakes or whatever. I mean, this is really dangerous, and make you feel confident that you are properly assisted by the machine might lead to some serious problems. So I think that we still need experience, the human experience in the markets, because ChatGPT doesn't have that experience. That experience that you gain only when you sit there and you trade the markets. And I'm still making mistakes today, because in some cases I don't judge properly some situation, how dangerous they could be, and only afterwards I recognize that they were dangerous and they made me lose money. And only afterwards I can put in place some new features, some new tools to avoid in the future this situation. But this is the experience, and ChatGPT doesn't have it. But you need somebody with experience. You will build the experience yourself. Normally, the experience you build is expensive because normally we make experience from mistakes, and mistakes in trading are equal to losses, losing money, which is not very pleasant, of course. In the future, maybe we get all this experience into ChatGPT. Today, we don't. So my suggestion, stay with the humans and use ChatGPT for our kind of tasks, but not for systematic trading today. Ciao from Andrea Unger.